Alrighty. Whenever you're ready, we can kick it off. Welcome to VectorMind Vortex, and it's a webinar that we have for all our users every month. And we're just hoping to get you guys excited about the platform as much as we are, and also show you the latest and the greatest. So I'm going to hand over to Zander Kutsia.
It's okay. Afternoon, everybody. Today, we want to introduce some new and exciting tech, but before we do that, we just sort of want to remind you as to why we've come on this journey. And I think everybody's sort of seen a lot of these statistics before, but the reality of the world that we are in at the moment is that everybody is using AI to some degree, and we keep sort of growing and learning new things every day. The percentage of the world that uses this is super scary, and the unknowns are just as scary. So with Business GPT and with CohesionX, we had a strong stance from the beginning with regards to how we approach AI in terms of using secure models as well as closing down a platform, building on top of Trism, and so on. And we want to just sort of give you an idea of how our initial sort of basic product has now become something that's soon will be one of our new flagship products. And that just shows you the iteration in a 12-month cycle as to how something really simple as a chatbot becomes something super powerful, just due to the way that the technology is changing. So we know that Gen AI is here to stay. We know that every business is looking to use this if they haven't, or use this differently if they are currently using it and unsure. And the hazards that we deal with is widely known, and this is definitely not a negative outlook or a dystopian view, but it's so difficult these days to understand whether stuff is even fabricated. I was actually just looking at the new generation capabilities of videos last night, and it's sort of like soon, if they don't force watermarks like in some countries or those sorts of things, you won't know whether videos that you're seeing are real or, and it's barely indistinguishable as it is at the moment in terms of text, whether you can even determine whether it was AI generated or not. So the AI hazards are real, and we stick firmly to our principles at CohesionX that we have built a platform on a secure sort of structure and architecture, and we drive that through everything that we do, and we're quite proud of that. So we went slow to go fast is I think what we mentioned there. So just a reminder of what that looks like. We want to show you the evolution of Business GPT from what it used to be to what it is now, and then an intro into Andre's demo to what it's going to be in the near future. So I just need to swap some screens over here, bring that across. I hope that that's still clear to everybody. So Business GPT, you all know and you all would have interacted with before. It's very much a secure proxy for ChatGPT, for a lack of a better word, or any other sort of chat-based component out there in the market, Claude or Gemini or X. Those are all supported underlying models that Business GPT now is empowered to do. We have expanded the product range to be able to do a whole bunch of things autonomously, like the web searches or tool-based calls. The upload capabilities we know have been troublesome, but have been improved and has grown as we've grown with the product. But what we want to specifically show you today is the projects capability. So if any of you have some sort of paid version of an AI tool out there in the market, a lot of the frontier providers also have a projects capability. Why we think that this is quite superb for within businesses is that because we leverage and we value the security of your information, having projects to be able to share them and collaborate with an environment really unlocks sort of a lot of value. And the power behind projects is it's now sort of enables you to do more than just like upload a few documents or hit context limits and so on. So I want to just take you sort of through what that looks like. You should be able to see what that is. We've already preset some examples to show you. So this is a project that I'm currently working on. And you can see that I've sort of set that up. So give it a name, give it some custom instructions, and upload some files. We've now expanded that capability. Essentially, the Business GPT project environment is a miniaturized RAG with re-ranking and all of that in. And just for terminology, RAG is a retrieve, augment, generate environment. So where we embed specific knowledge and the agent or the assistant talks to that specific knowledge only. And then the rest of it is you can now chat to it the way you would in sort of any other, it would look like any other sort of chatbot. And we can now reference our documents like you would in any other environment. So we can render diagrams, we can reference information, and now we can start collaborating. So this is a private project at the moment. You can see it's only my chats here. I have shared this with one of my colleagues, but I don't think he's accepted the invite yet. But let me go to one of the projects where there has been something shared with us. So this is all, fortunately, demo information. So this is a project that we created internally just to sort of give you the idea of what that would look like if someone were to interact on it within a business. And this is a Project Falcon. It's a mergers and acquisitions use case where we've got some financial information and we've got some historical like setups of a business or whatever, and we've got a four-man team that needs to now interact with this information. So everybody can chat in their own chat, or we can collaborate in a single chat in the same thread, on the same content, and it just sort of helps you sort of bring that together. I understand that in our environment, if we had to do a scope for someone, the old way is draft a document, share a OneDrive link, now edit on there. When we both know, or all of us know who are interacting with it, we're using AI to some degree. Why not just centralize that and work on it in the actual same chat? So that sort of gives you a whole bunch of, that unlocks a new level of collaboration for you. And with that, the UI components are now, we've advanced it to use newer capabilities where we can render diagrams, render mathematical equations, render charts for interactive charts if you've got charted data, download CSVs of tables soon. And I know this is it's a pending thing within the market within our customer spaces, to be able to create artifacts and like Excel documents and docx documents and so on. Those are in the pipeline and being built. Right now, there's capabilities for you to download that and copy them over. But yeah, this is what we've got at the moment for Business GPT projects. I don't know if you want to add anything here, Andre, before I continue.
Yes. So what I want to do is let me share something over here. So I'm going to go to my mail. Zander just invited me. I'm going to go to that project. And I think this is quite a nice unlock. So think of an RFP. So here I can see now Zander's stuff, and you can Timothy, Andre Jr., and my stuff. So I can now say, okay, well, provide a summary of all work done so far. Okay. And now this is the context is across the entire project with everybody's collaboration, which I think is extremely powerful in a business. Also, it's in a centralized place where all the documents can be stored. It keeps the context, and like Zander says, it creates a what we call a RAG, but essentially a data knowledge system on that project. We're using this quite extensively for things like RFPs, where there's more than 3 or 4 people collaborating. And I can obviously go see everybody's history or just my own history. So it works similar to a typical chatbot, but the difference is you got collaboration between individuals. And similarly, on the actual project setup, like Zander has done, I can go add additional files here. There is instructions for the overall project. So it works similar to some of the cloud provider systems. But again, this is now inside your environment. So from a customer perspective, you can upload financial statements in here. You can upload very confidential material because it's all enclosed in your tenant, and none of this data is shared outside. So this is quite a nice collaboration tool that we recently added. Back to you, Zander.
Thanks, Andre. 1 second. So let me just run through this. So I think we all understand sort of what that looks like, and it's obviously readily available in your environments at the moment, and we cover all of the relevant security, and we now support additional models. So the nice thing is we've always supported a wide range of models, but now you can set up different assistants or different projects with different models depending on really your flavor. I mean, it's really what we see in the market is there's no sort of outright winner these days. Every frontier model provider claims every week that they're introducing the best new thing, and that's great. Which is why we're abstracted. So we just allow you to pick which one you want to choose, and we route to that. And that also allows you to sort of separate it if you don't want to work across that, across the different models. So with that, obviously, just as a reminder, our environment is fully traced, and we understand we have a level of insight into every single interaction with the LLM. This is really a crucial capability that people must understand, because when we're moving into the next era, which Andre is going to do quite a nice demo on after this, and this is where Business GPT is going, the era of basic assistance is coming to an end. And a lot of your larger players are already there. Everybody's probably got severe AI fatigue. If you go onto LinkedIn, it's like everybody's an agent expert these days, or everybody's an agent seller, and that's great. But we are also moving into that space, into the agent space. I think our approach is a little bit more subtle in the sense that we're still pretty hesitant. So we're, as a business at the moment, in a hybrid assistant agent era. I would say within the next 6 months, we'd probably be fully agent driven. Why traceability is still important for that is we need to know exactly what these things are doing. It's now not just here's a system prompt, send it to an LLM with some instructions and an answer comes back. Now it goes into something that is deciding on based on how you've developed or created that agent. It becomes a machine that has a capability of making decisions, which tools it's going to use, or which calls it's going to make, or how it's going to respond. And it really does become autonomous depending on the sort of framework that you build on. And there's obviously a variety of different agents. There's simple agents, there's React agents, and there's sort of like end-to-end autonomous agents. So the visibility that we still provide into that, as well as the usage and the guardrails on those capabilities, are super important. And the guardrails here become more important now, because if something is going to act, we need to be careful that they don't delete a database, or that it doesn't wipe the Cloudflare DNS mapping in AWS globally and everybody loses their internet connectivity, as an example. That is a story that you guys can go and follow. That was a big Cloudflare outage at the close of last year. So these things, if they are left unchecked, there will be chaos. So we're driving hard in terms of our guardrails, and we put that in the hands of you as the user of our platform, as the subscriber of our platform. We enable you to do this. Nothing is hidden. You are in full control of this, and we also then provide to you capabilities that are already vetted and checked and so on. And moving on from the Business GPT of what it is today, and I'm going to just talk about it conceptually because Andre is going to show you what that actually looks like. And it's a little bit of a mindset change. It's difficult to put a UI onto something that is so sort of powerful. It's just like trying to define the birth of a human agent here. But we want to show you what that looks like conceptually. So Business GPT will eventually become an agent. We're planning to release that sort of mid-April, will be the Business GPT version 2, which will come out, and it will be an agentic framework. So it won't just be a normal assistant. You will be able to define tools, and we'll give the capabilities of pre-vetted tools that you can actually just give to your standard Business GPT. And that's where the additional artifacts and capabilities will come out, like doc creation and all those sorts of things. But beyond that, we still want to keep Business GPT quite ring-fenced as an agent, as a simple agent, where we'll then open up our agent marketplace, which Andre will show you sort of the idea of what we envision there is, where you can either use some pre-existing agents, which we will define across our experience in the industries, or you'll be able to go and configure them on your own. And that then speaks to 10xing your workforce, or multiplying yourself in terms of the capabilities. And obviously, we're not touching on token economics now, but I'm sure Andre will have something to say about that. I don't know, Andre, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, so before we get to the agents, there we go. We've added quite a lot of just incremental features to Business GPT to stay in reach of what the premier frontier providers are selling at quite a premium. So obviously from day one, we could do file and image uploads. There were here and there some issues. This has been vastly improved. What we do have is voice to text now that's included. We have web search and image generation and some of those additional iterative features that's been added. Version 2 is already completed, but we haven't fully implemented it. So version 2, I think we expect to have that land in everybody's tenants probably middle April. There's still a little bit of QA to do, which is taking it, like Zander said, Business GPT goes to more of an agentic framework, which means it's got more capabilities. It's got the capability to generate documents. It's got the capability to call some tools, and it's a much slicker, more modern approach to that. So obviously these things iterate and the technology improves. So we're very excited that before end of April, there's a vast upgrade to version 2, which is a complete rewrite of Business GPT. That takes us into the realm now of what's about to hit us next. In our previous podcast, we discussed what we believe agents will do for us. And since then, a lot has happened in the world. You would have read about some of the remarkable progress that's been made globally. There's some open source projects like OpenClaw that is already more successful than Linux. So it's hard to explain that to non-technical people, but Linux is 30 years old. Almost every web server on the planet runs on Linux. It is historically the biggest open source project. And then one guy over a weekend essentially went and recreated more traction with a self-service agent. So that was almost like an inflection point in AI. There's actually been 2 inflection points. The first thing was when OpenAI launched ChatGPT, where they essentially very cleverly put a UI on top of of something that existed for a while, which was these transformer models. And ChatGPT was the first people to put a user interface. And that was a huge inflection point, because what happened was it gave normal people the ability to gain access to almost unlimited knowledge. So that was absolutely massive. The second big inflection point in AI came towards the end of 2024, 2 years ago. I'm not great at this math thing. At the end of 2024, the first reasoning models came out. Now that's where suddenly the assistant could mimic human reasoning, and they built the algorithms to obviously expose the capability of the language models and these huge AI knowledge bases with the ability to reason and think. That was a massive thing. In the background, it was also quite huge in terms of capability. It's like 100x the compute that you needed to go from a normal LLM to a thinking, reasoning LLM. So that was a big thing. Michiel and I famously did talks in middle 2024 where we said, yeah, but remember, LLMs cannot reason. So you must always remember that, and the next thing they could reason. So we've stopped making big statements about what's going to happen next, because it changes at a pace that none of us can really actually even understand. The third big inflection point was the essentially giving these AI tools and the reasoning things the ability to perform actions. And that's where agents are playing a huge, huge role, because suddenly now we're going from something that is really interesting, where an AI can answer your questions, where it can do some research, where now it can start doing your work. So that's like, okay, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a lawyer or a programmer or an engineer that can ask an AI to actually do its work, to write documents, to write code, to send emails, to engage with people, to perform actions. And that's like a big moment for all of us, because I mean, it literally changes our entire understanding of what is possible. So this is the next frontier where it really is extremely interesting. And if you look at AI at the moment largely exist inside the IT teams, because it sort of like makes sense. You need to understand how the limitations work, and you need to understand the risks involved so that you can craft your strategy. But over time, the usage will be of such a nature that I suspect it will end up somewhere in the balance on the profit and loss statement or income statement, close to human resources or salaries. Because if you look at a lawyer that can now suddenly use agents to do some of his work, maybe he can perform 2 or 3 times the amount of work per day that he used to do. Now, is that then an IT cost? Probably not. It's more of it's an operational cost, and maybe you must think differently about allocating that cost. There are some of the leaders in this space globally, and some of the influencers that I follow, at least, that reckons that when a senior engineer comes to work for you, and you you pay that guy $10,000, he should use at least $5,000 worth of tokens. And Michiel, who's, I think he's on the call, has been showing us how that's possible with quality assurance, with unit test, with code reviews, where he spins up multiple agents doing that work. And yes, it costs a lot of money, but our output is just going 3, 4, 5, 6x. And I think that's a proxy for what will happen in normal business. At the moment, it's largely confined, the exponential benefit is largely confined to programmers. It's already disrupted our world where, I mean, someone could build OpenClaw using what's called vibe coding. For the non-techies on the call, vibe coding is essentially where you give natural language instructions to an engine that then writes the code. And 2 years ago, the quality was so poor you couldn't do it. Even 6 months ago, the quality was debatable, and you could do it semi-assisted. And now the quality of the latest models are probably better than most humans. So that opens a new era of productivity, and if you can use the tools correctly, but now you have to budget for the token. So it's becoming really interesting. So that's the world of agents. But you can, the reason why, or one of the reasons why programming was the first area of disruption is, I think, twofold. Firstly, the technology of AI lends itself towards programming languages, because it's a language like natural language. You can train it, you can teach it, you can show it millions and millions of programs, and then it can understand how to code in a different language, like it understands English and Afrikaans. So that's the first thing. I think it's a natural fit. But what is very important is you must remember the companies that build these models, like Google and OpenAI, it's mostly software engineers that build it. So the best productivity boost for them was to focus on coding, to code their own stuff. So if you look at OpenAI GPT 5.4, which is the latest frontier model, it's well documented that the second part of the training process was done by AI. So for the first time in our history, there is a model that was trained by itself. So it's like a bit of a Skynet inflection moment. Anyway, my point is that a lot of the investment was made around programming, but it is now branching out to legal, to accounting, which is an extension of programming, to a large degree with math. It's branching out to medicine. It's branching out to all sorts of other knowledge environments. Now, we are seeing, even in South Africa, how the productivity unlock is happening with agents on a technology perspective. And when I say we have people doing code review, and we've always had people doing code review, but it's time intensive. Now the first sweep of code review is done by an agent that can do it almost instantly and 24/7. And it does a pretty decent job at it. And we just add human QA to do the final checks and so on. But now suddenly QA is becoming an AI agent, and instead of having to hire 4 more, Michiel spins up 4 more praxis agents to do all of that. Similarly with unit tests, with code review components and those kind of automated tasks. We don't deploy AI code yet because there's a large amount of risk, but we do deploy it for prototypes and for demo systems and for those kind of things and QA and so on. And that's why, I mean, we've got our mix on how we do this. But what we are seeing is, if used correctly, it's a force multiplier, and we get some of our most our most knowledgeable employees give 3, 4, 5x output per day. So that will happen. It is a bit of an aha moment, I think, for industry, because the same will happen with law, same will happen with accounting and so on. Okay, so I think we believe, and I believe, and I've seen it in our own business, that there's a huge thing that's on the horizon that will unlock tremendous value for everybody. So I'm going to show you the alpha version of our agentic system. So Michiel showed last time the back end. So it's called Practice. It's our own agent framework, and it works similar to a graph agent system. It's a little bit more involved than just the traditional reason and act agent, but essentially an agent, and I know there's technical and non-technical people on the call. An agent is something that can perform a task for me. So think of, in the past, we would have an AI assistant to perhaps review documents for a customer onboarding. And it would highlight, here's the ID numbers and all of that. An agent can now do one step further and say, okay, well, if the ID is missing, let's email the customer automatically and ask him to send us the ID and then review that ID. So think of that. That's the evolution of a simple agent. You've got something that in the past could answer the question, and now it could go one step further and perform the action. So think of a bank recon. We could put in the bank statement, and maybe some financial data, and the assistant could tell us, yes, these things must match and these two things are issues. An agent can now do, okay, cool, let's perform the actions in the accounting system, let's go post it, and let's go then action it. So that, and that's simple examples, but that's a proxy for what will happen. So I'm going to go and show you some of the live implementation of how our approach will be. It's going to be very modular. And this is just a taster. So we've got here's a demo instance, and essentially there's a demo here set up, and an agent, how the agent works is, an agent has got a brain, and it can reason and it can decide what to do, and then you give it different tools to perform certain actions, and you give it different skills. In our implementation with Praxis, we merge some of that, but to make it simple for today's demo, I'll show you. We can build a skills library. So a skill would be something like, and I'll show you an example, a restaurant booking skill. So here I tell it, you handle restaurant bookings conversations, specifically with a third-party system called Taste Igniter. Here are your tools that you're allowed to use. And essentially your job is to collect enough detail to check availability. You can go check availability before promising anything, ask for the date, the time, all of those kind of things. So this is like a really simple skill, but in the skill, I tell the agent it's got certain tools. So then there's tools. So that Taste Igniter I just talked about, here's a typical setup, and it's in our case, what we do is we can spin up custom code in a container to keep it safe, that we can review the code, it gets deployed, and then that will allow us to then run that integration essentially with Taste Igniter. We've got the concept and the notion of connectors. So think of something like WhatsApp or Telegram. I can go integrate Infobip here, and then I can go create a specific WhatsApp line for Buffelsfontein as an example, and I can run that. So I've got tools, I've got connectors, I've got skills, I've got channels, and then these things come together in agent. So let me show you a couple of examples. I can go in and look at, I just did this now. So here is a pharmacy data analyst. So it's an agent. I connect it to a language model to do the thinking for me. So in this case, OpenAI GPT 5.4. I give it certain skills. So in this instance, I give it a skill to do rich output so it can draw graphs. And I give it a skill to be able to understand where the data lies, which tables in the database to go look at. I give it a connector, which is a database. So over here, it's connected to Postgres. Okay, and then I can trigger it with an email, and I give it some memory. I can give it other agents to call, and then I can basically go run it. So if I go, oops, sorry about that. Yeah, Jackie said I must switch off all my phones and gooders, but it doesn't always work like that because I just don't listen. And then, okay, so now I can go interact with this. Now, obviously, this can be connected to WhatsApp, or it can be connected to any, oops, sorry, all my secret keys here. Where's the light? I want to just get that. There we go. So what I want to go do is I want to go ask this agent to go fetch me the top selling products for that specific pharmacy. Now I can go make coffee because this agent will now understand. It's got the skill to go read a database. It will run queries. It will go identify what I'm talking about. It will go fetch the products, and it will render it for me. There we go. So it found the products. It's just busy building a quick UI here. Again, this thing can write its own UI. It can download to documents. Okay, so there we go. Excellent. Water's top selling. Myelin, plastic bag, sunlight soap, Adkadol, myelin. So people got a lot of pain here in this area. Plastic bags, griepmengsel. Okay, there we go. And I mean, that's literally as simple as it is. But the principle is to spin that up. I'll show you how to create that agent. I can now go create another one, and I'll use an agent to spin it up. So I'll say, I need a brand new agent that can access my forecaster database in Postgres. It's specifically focused on product sales. Go and create it for me. Okay, so everything I just showed you, this takes probably, well, we'll see now, it takes maybe 2 minutes to create a brand new agent that will be able to do everything I just showed you there. Okay, so it's going to go discover, there's some tools. Now, what we do for our customers is we pre-vet the tools, we pre-check it for security, we launch it in your platform. So our team can then go build these agents, or your technical team can go build the agent. So now it's just busy. There's no funny interface, but you can see it needs the data analysis, reach output tools. Okay, it's going to go, I put it on auto, so it's allowed to just go build it. I create the agent. Do I want to publish it? Yes, approve. You can publish it. Boom. Okay, so now there should be, okay, it's just busy executing. There should be an agent any second now. There we go. Great. So there should be a new one. Second product sales forecaster. I go into builder. It built it for me. It defaulted on Anthropic, so I'm not so crazy about that. It's too expensive. I want to go back to GPT maybe 5.4. I want to enable reasoning. And yeah, okay, that's fine. Tools seem fine. Let's just check if that's in. Yeah, this all seems fine. This should now be able. There's my agent. So that's how easy it will be to connect these kind of things. So to show you I mean, how this would work. Just before this is just an instance for this webinar. I went and I created a couple like this. So I created the financial controller. So to show you what that does. It's a normal agent. It's got some email management capability. It's got financial ops capability, which is the skills. So let's just go look at the skills. Where's the email management? You can read, draft, search, send emails professionally. And again, it's almost like natural language. This is how to draft the mails. This is how you send it, the etiquette, the tone, all of that. So that's a skill that you give the agent. The other skill I had was financial ops. So here's a skill that says, okay, you integrate it to Xero. These are your principles. This is how I want to render this stuff. And this is, like I said, free text. So I can just go change it. So if I go back to that financial controller agent now, by the way, all of this is available through APIs. But if I go back to my builder, okay, great. So this thing connects to 5.4. I can change this to, I mean, let's make it 5.4 mini as an example so that it's quicker and cheaper. I want to publish it. Okay. Yeah, this seems fine. So let's go run it. So maybe what I'll do with the financial controller, I'll say list all unpaid customer invoices. I considered connecting this to our real Xero, but there might be people on the call who haven't paid the invoices. So I've just connected it to the demo company in Xero. So list all unpaid customer invoices. Okay, let's go. So this will now, and you'll see in the tool calls, this here in this inspector, it's going to load the skill for FinOps. It then calls, it's quicker than I can debug. It calls the invoices API through Xero, and there we go, Hamilton, Rext. Okay, so let's take that guy and say, okay, how many days is this invoice overdue? Oops, small, what did I put in there? Sorry, small business, yeah. Did you mean yes? Okay, I did mean that. Yes, that is what I mean, bro. Okay. Okay, so yep, 1,480. Yo, that's a lot of days. Okay, so that's, I mean, that would be now to connect to something like Xero. I can now say go send an email to them. I'm going to just show you another example of how this is used. So we're using this with Michiel's practice in live production with McCarthy to do service bookings. We're using this with one of the big law firms to find information in their SharePoint. We're using this to summarize documents and so on. Okay, one last one. So I created for a customer, Buffelsfontein Brandy. They got a restaurant and they wanted a quick booking system. Now, I think this is a proxy for how things might also work in future. So they've got an open source back-end system. We literally went and said to our agent, go create a custom connector to that system, Tasty Igniter. And then there's an agent that says Buffelsfontein. Okay, hang on, let me just, sorry, can we go back there? Cool. So the tool that it's got available is Tasty Igniter's API, and it's got that restaurant booking thing. What I also added here was a WhatsApp to connect to that. So if I go here, I can now go and say, oops, where's that? Sorry. Buffelsfontein, I say, ek soek 'n tafel Saterdag aand. Kan julle my help? Okay, Saterdag aand, hoeveel gaste binne of buite? I'm doing it in Afrikaans just to play around a bit. I want to sit, ek wil binne sit asseblief en dis 4 mense. Okay. Natuurlik, wat is Saterdag se datum, by the way? Hierdie Saterdag, 29 Maart. Okay.
Oh, ek dink 28 Maart.
Is dit 28 Maart en 7 p.m. There we go. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now it will go check in the system. Yep, there's plek beskikbaar. Okay. What are we going to say? I'm Zander Strauss. Oh, that's my number. And email is Andre@Wes. Okay, cool. Hopefully it will, there we go, create reservation, boop, it's done. If I go into the backend system now, let's refresh that, there we go, Zander Strauss booking, and it's got the ability to actually pick the table. So it actually selected the table on the back end, and that's all done. It's dangerous to open my WhatsApp, so I'm not going to do that because you never know what Zabaldu sends me when I'm on a call. Otherwise, I would have just showed you it works on WhatsApp and on email. Okay, so that's the agent demo. I wish I had more time, but I think Yaki is trying to tell me that I'm done.
Well, I actually just wanted to open up the platform for people who had any questions. I have an anonymous question, but I just want to find out if anybody live would like to ask a question. You can pop it in our chat or in our Q&A section while we still have a few minutes. I think maybe while we wait for anybody else, there is an anonymous question that came in, and that is, how do you handle incorrect answers or actions? And how can users give feedback?
Do you want to go, Andre, or shall I answer?
Now, I only answer questions to which I know the answers for, which I don't have yet. So you must do this.
Okay. The platform has feedback capabilities in all the chat interfaces. So we've got thumbs up and thumbs down, heart, and flag. There's no rule book on which one to choose, but we generally try to say, so if something's content is correct, but its output or structure or the way that it rendered is incorrect, just give it a thumbs down. If something is really wrong, like hallucinated or not based on the ground truth data that you gave it, then flag it. And then we have our context AI capability in the back end where we go and look through those chats and then find their traces and then see what went wrong and then course correct. So that's how we handle incorrect answers or incorrect rendering of answers. Hope that answers the
Awesome,
question.
thank you. I don't see any other questions from anybody. We have 1 minute left if anybody wanted to. Otherwise, we're going to close it off.
Yeah, and thank you for everybody for joining. We'll keep on doing this. I hope there's value in it for you. And thanks for everybody's support of our business and our platform. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.